Here we are back once again to continue season 2 of my annual Halloween special. And as promised, we're here to talk about An American Werewolf in London, directed by John Landis. And this film is great even to this day. And for my opinion, this is probably the best werewolf movie ever made. You could tell by the transformation scene alone. They were wanting to make the werewolf transformation a painful experience because once you see that, you can hear the bones crack. The sound of the hair growing and everything, and it was just
the nails.
Yeah, and the nails and everything, and
Yeah.
everything about it, especially the makeup work.
Design is amazing.
Yeah, it was done by Rick Baker. And it blows my mind. This was actually the first film to actually win an Oscar for best makeup, and that was so well deserved.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember first watching this movie back when I was 13, and it was my last day of seventh grade, and I remember renting this movie from Blockbuster, and I miss Blockbuster. I'm not gonna lie about that.
Yeah, I do miss that place.
Yeah, and was like, it made me feel like I was at home.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So of course, since I got in good grades on my last day, of course my mom promised me that she would rent me a movie from Redbox, and of course I've gotten An American Werewolf in London, and from then on it became my favorite werewolf movie, and I've never gotten tired of it, and everything from how the story is told, from the characters, from the design of the werewolf, and the makeup and everything. It is pitch perfect. It's everything that I ever want from a werewolf movie, and I love it. Yeah, and me and Austin have watched this before a couple of years ago, but Ethan has watched it for the first time for this review. But what were mostly your thoughts on the movie?
I really love the dream sequences in the movie. I really thought they did that well, captured that well.
Yeah, and for the most part, they were disturbing as hell.
They were very graphic, but very
especially when it came to the deer.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you could tell that this was not a. It's actually pretty amazing because it had such a high volume of comedy, but when it wanted to be serious, they really knew how to just switch it to. A horror film,
This is like I mentioned in our Zombieland review. This is one of the few films. The level of comedy. They try to not make it as much of a comedy,
right?
As it. Because this was meant to be a horror film,
right.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think the one director that has mastered the horror comedy thing very well would have to be Sam Raimi in the Evil Dead movies. Because I love the Evil Dead movies, and he's as much of the evil Austin as much as an Evil Dead fan as I am.
Yeah, I love Sam Raimi.
Yeah, I loved Sam Raimi ever since I've watched his Spider-Man trilogy. I love Spider-Man 1 and 2 with the exception of Spider-Man 3, even though it does have its moments.
Yep.
But
it's not the worst Spider-Man movie.
Well, yeah, I'm kind of
digressing.
Yeah. Do you think this movie is still good even to this day?
I think it's still excellent to this day.
Yeah, what would you give your? What would your comments be on the transformation scene?
Ooh, that is extraordinary painful. You can hear the bones cracking.
Yeah, and everything. The way that he's like screaming in agonizing pain, and you can hear him howling. Especially
his hands expanding.
Yeah, and his
jaw.
Yeah, and the jaw and his face.
Yeah.
You could tell that it's animatronic, of course, especially with the thing that was, his hand extending.
Yeah, and his feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's still pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
Especially for a movie that was made in
Very
the
early
80s.
80s.
Oh,
yeah.
I know.
Yeah, it was impressive.
Yeah.
Ooh, pain wise, that can even rival Misery. With
with the hobbling scene where
Yes.
she takes a sledgehammer and breaks both of his ankles.
oh my gosh, this
Yeah.
has to be probably even more painful than that.
Oh yeah, it could. I mean, yeah. I also love the soundtrack. The movie had great soundtrack as well.
Oh yeah, but they were more focused on popular like
Right.
pop songs than
Right.
like having like an actual score.
Right.
Because sometimes I think the movie could have had a better benefit if it had like a good score.
Yeah, more serious tone maybe.
Yeah.
I mean,
certain
that can
scenes.
be like a big. It's not one bit of criticism for this movie, but
Yeah.
but at that point, I mean, it never really
didn't
entirely
really matter too
bought-
much.
Yeah,
It
it
didn't
didn't
matter.
really matter too much. I mean, it was only in the movie for. I mean, the score. I mean, the score that was played throughout the movie. It was only there for like several scenes. I mean,
yeah.
you could even hear it at the end, like throughout like Piccadilly Circus.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about
But
it,
this movie does an excellent job building the tension.
Yeah, I mean, and they don't. I mean, they keep the werewolf hidden. They go with the Jaws route, like
Right.
like in
Yeah.
Jaws, they keep the shark hidden because I mean they don't. I mean they don't show it like too much. Like
right,
they
keep it suspenseful. Yeah.
Yeah, because Jaws the Revenge made the mistake of showing it continuously because at that point it looked fake.
Yeah.
Oh God.
And I heard that, I mean, John Landis had a difficulty, like, deciding on what the werewolf should look like because, I mean, but he wanted a four-legged hound from hell. And you
Yeah.
could tell,
Mhm.
I mean, by the way the werewolf is designed.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, and I mean, like I said, well, this is probably, I mean, for the werewolf for this film alone is probably my favorite werewolf design on film.
I really.
It's a really good design.
Because if you watched my review for The Wolfman, you probably heard me say that I love like werewolf movies that mostly rely on good makeup and costume work and everything like that. And those are the type of werewolf movies that I can respect. Some CGI werewolf movies, I mean,
depends.
Yeah, it depends
how
on
they
the
do
type
it.
of movie. I mean, like say Van Helsing.
They did a pretty good job.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of people that don't like Van Helsing, and I honestly, I mean, I liked it ever since I was a kid. I mean, it's not perfect or anything, but I mean, it's sort of, it's enjoyable for the most part. It's sort of the B movie for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's not perfect.
But it does have.
Definitely.
I mean, it has some good acting in it. From Hugh Jackman, of course.
Yeah.
As always.
Yeah, but I thought the werewolf design for Van Helsing
Was
I thought
decent.
was decent,
Decent.
even though it was clearly CGI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely better than some CGI werewolf I've seen, though.
Yeah, as in terms of like good makeup for a werewolf movie, I love the one for I love what they use for An American Werewolf in London.
Yeah.
As for what I can think about the sequel, An American Werewolf in Paris, I can't really give too much comment on it, but I will definitely say it's not an improvement. Because the CG for that movie was shit. No makeup, no practical effects, nothing. Just completely in computers. Don't watch that. It's shit. And I can't believe that I watched that film as a kid.
I've never seen that film.
Good, because it's not worth your time. I mean, I can't. I remember watching that on TV as a kid, and I liked that. And when I watch it back then, right now as an adult, I'm like, why the hell did I like this movie as a kid? But right when I watched An American Werewolf in London again, that completely made me forget about that piece of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as for, and I already mentioned in my review for The Wolfman, I also loved the makeup work done in the 2010 reboot. And that also won an Oscar for Best Makeup, and that was so well deserved because their makeup in that one was really impressive.
Oh, they made a 2010 version of this film?
No,
Or
I mean
Wolfman.
for the
Wolfman?
Wolfman.
Okay.
But there have been talks about a remake for the American Werewolf in London
I
for
would love
years.
to see that.
Oh man,
Can you
they
imagine what they could
should.
do with?
Yeah, I would like it for I would like for the reboot to have a much longer runtime, and And I would want them to explore more of the mythology of the werewolf.
Right.
Because, I mean...
This movie barely touched on that.
Yeah, not too much at all.
But, but it doesn't mostly rely on telling the mythology of the werewolf. It mostly tries to establish more on what the characters are doing and what their motivations are.
Yeah.
Mostly...
Keep the story contained.
Yeah, and mostly like around. I mean, we haven't really talked about this. I mean, especially the makeup used on Jack, because I mean his throat was torn to shreds.
Yeah.
In the beginning of the film by the werewolf, by the first werewolf that we see. The makeup for that, it looks real.
And as the film progresses, he slowly decays even more, and it's pretty. I like how they, show that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And, as for Griffin Dunne's performance as Jack, I thought he was great. He was good. I thought he was good. Comedic relief for the film.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, but Jack. I mean, he mostly just tries to tell David, what's going on, and I mean that they were attacked by a werewolf, and that he has to kill himself in order to prevent him from killing innocent people. Right, not only that, but also from stop him from. Not only that, but also inflicting the curse of causing his victims to become members of the undead. Right. Because, I mean, once a werewolf kills a person, they become the undead, and they're cursed to walk the earth in limbo until the werewolf curse is lifted. So they have to, keep living as the undead until David is killed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But, of course, David thinks it's all bullshit, but that's when shit hits the fan, when the bone is full.
Right.
Yeah.
But the shit doesn't hit the fan until the very end of the film, because I mean the shit that goes on in Piccadilly Circus at the finale,
Gosh, all kinds of panic and chaos.
Yeah. As for the love story, we haven't gotten to that part. I mean, there are some moments where what love at first sight in film. I mean, there are some times where it's believable, and there are some times where it can get a bit cutesy. But for me, it didn't really bother me, and I really bought David and Alex's relationship, and I thought that they really had great chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end, where she goes to David at the end of that alley, and she tells him that she loves him. And we get this close up of the werewolf's eyes, and he's suddenly calm just for a split second.
But then it kind of kicks in.
But then the werewolf side kicks in again, and he goes up and attacks her, and
then the cops shoot him.
The cops shoot him. He dies, and the movie basically ends.
Yeah.
Which is I like how they ended it like that.
It wasn't the cops. It was Beauty that killed the beast. Of course, I had to make a reference to King Kong.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But, some critics can probably criticize that the film was kind of short, but, the runtime wasn't really that much of a problem for me. But, it's really well pasted, I would have to say. It doesn't really have to be necessarily long. Right. Especially for a movie that was made in the 80s. I think that was probably a problem that they had with the budget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably a low budget film.
Mm-hmm. But
for a low budget film, man, the special effects were really good.
Yeah. You can't deny that.
You can just tell a big portion of that money went into the special effects and makeup.
Yeah, absolutely.
And to think that the werewolf was actually the Dr. Pepper guy, and but the Dr. Pepper company fired him mostly because of the nudity scenes in the film, and I think that's a little bit hypocritical.
Yeah, I don't know why Pepsi.
Well, Dr. Pepper.
Dr. Pepper did that.
Yeah, like I said, that's a little bit hypocritical.
Yeah.
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 Just because he did one movie with nudity in it.
Right.
Yeah. Not that, not that the movie is like full of nudity. I mean,
No.
it has like its scenes of like sexual content and nudity.
Yeah.
But I mean, but the film doesn't over rely on that.
Right.
No, not at all.
No, I mean, as a horror film, I mean, it's perfect. I mean, for with the makeup and the design of the werewolf.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
And but as for my favorite scene of the film, I mean, it has to be the transformation sequence.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, yes.
Yeah.
Best scene in the entire movie.
Yeah, and probably the best transformation scene ever put in a werewolf film. Because there were some moments where where most werewolf movies can rely on CG and everything. Because I would say that that would probably be more cheaper, but I like that they put more effort by using practical effects and makeup. Now that is something that you can truly respect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yes.
and the way that Rick Baker worked his ass off, I have a lot of love for this guy, and this is the same guy who done practical effects and monster makeup for The Thing, and I love The Thing. It's probably my second favorite John Carpenter movie other than Halloween.
There's multiple of the Thing movies.
The
The 80s.
the one from 1982.
Kurt Russell.
Yeah, it's probably my favorite movie with Kurt Russell. Yeah. Yeah, but Rick Baker's work in An American Werewolf in London is fucking phenomenal. So yeah, as for practical effects, it's through the roof. It's that perfect. Acting, pretty good.
Yep, it was on point.
Yeah, and the horror aspect, I loved it. Comedic level, it's sometimes it can be hilarious as shit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't really have much issues with this movie, and if you haven't seen this movie, I highly recommend that you should. It's definitely worth your time, especially if you like werewolf movies. I'm gonna give An American Werewolf in London an A+.
A+.
Yeah. So what were your thoughts on this movie? Let me know in the comment section below. And guys, thank you so much for supporting me on this review. Yeah. Thank you so much as always for watching. I'm looking forward to doing more reviews very soon and continuing season 2. This has been a whole lot of fun so far, and I can't wait to see what I come up with next. So yeah. I hope you're. Yeah. Just wait until our next episode.
Here in a couple hours.
Yeah, we don't want to give too much into detail, so prepare to be amazed. So yeah. So if you want my thoughts on old or new movies, you know where to find me.
Yeah.